Hi everybody, Stu, AG6AG. Well, if you don't know what this is, today you're going to learn all about it. This is an RJ45 cable end, and you would put it on the end of a RJ45 cable that will plug into network interfaces, plug into wall warts to go on a network. It also many times is used in amateur radio to connect microphones, not just amateur radio, but other commercial microphones as well. So what happens when the little pin on this thing breaks? Well, you got to replace it or replace the whole cable. If that's a mic cable, that could be complicated. Also, think about this. If it's a cable that you've ran 100 feet in your house and have tucked under the carpet and everything else, replacing that cable could be a nightmare. And if this breaks, well, your only choice is to replace this. So today I am going to share with you the knowledge that some very good friend of mine shared back when I was doing work for a nonprofit and creating hundreds of these cables for an event. And these guys were low voltage contractors and showed me the pro tips and methods to get the end on this cable easily and not have a bunch of rejected cables later. So with that, hey, don't forget, if you like my videos, please click the subscribe button and you'll be informed when I come out with new ones. And if you like an individual video in particular, hit the like button on that as well, because that helps get my video in front of more people. And let's face it, we're all here to help each other, right? Anyway, with that, let's get on with terminating network cables with RJ45 connectors. Well, okay, there it is. There it is, right there. There it is. That is a Cat5 cable. Or is it a Cat5e cable? Or, well, could be a Cat6 cable. So, look. You can't really tell from the outside just staring at a cable if it's Cat5 or Cat5e or Cat6 or Cat7. And you don't really need to. Sometimes on the cable it'll be stamped. But for the most part, if you go in and ask for a Cat5 cable or you buy bulk Cat5 cable, it's going to come as Cat5e. Cat5e handles gigabit Ethernet. That is probably as far as you need to go, especially if you're not using it for Ethernet at all. If you're using it for some sort of application other than that to extend something, because it works really good for extending serial connections, microphones, things like that that you may need. Not quite 8 conductors, but maybe, right? Anyway, as far as the little connectors go, you know, there's not that much difference in the connectors either. I'm told that some of the Cat5e connectors are the same as what they sell as Cat6 connectors. But truthfully, there may be a little bit more gold in the contacts, but as far as that goes, you can pretty much just go to any store and purchase Cat5, Cat5e connectors, and you'll be fine, okay? Let's talk a little bit, though, about what the actual differences are in those connectors, right? So, over here are the standards. Now, there's 2 standards to the RJ45 pinout. One is T568 Alpha, and the other one is T568 Bravo. And the T568 Bravo specification is the one that we typically use for Ethernet cables, okay? Now, you notice that the only difference between the 2 of these is the order of the wires. That's it. And really, the only difference is the green-green-white twisted pair and the orange-white twisted pair are switched between the 2 standards. And if you ever had to make a crossover cable, well, you'd have a T568B on one side and a T568A on the other. Now, for our conversations, we're going to just say everything's a T568B connection. This is the wiring you want to stick to, okay? And plain and simple, you need to remember, too, that the wiring's a little funky. I mean, it's actually, you have four sets of two twisted wires, right, that are in here. And it would turn out that you have 1 and 2 as one set up here, right? Now you have 3 and 6 as another set of twisted pair. Then 4 and 5 are a set of twisted pair. And all the way down at the end, 7 and 8 are a twisted pair. Now, why do they do that? I don't know. I think it had to do with distinguishing a wiring pattern that was different from telephone circuits, right? Telephone circuits did it a little different too. It went one twisted pair, another twisted pair, another twisted pair, and then another twisted pair in the center. But they wanted to keep some of that going, and that's the two center connectors. If you look at the center connector and the ones off from the center connector, they're two sets of twisted pair wire. Truthfully, it doesn't matter to us. We just need to remember that that is the wiring diagram. That T568B is the one that we need to work with. Okay? Now, when we turn around and look at the actual connector, there you go. This is the one we're going to use, and these are the wire layouts, okay? So, the other thing to remember is these connectors, I bought them at Lowe's. I bought them all over the place. You just have to make sure, if your cable's round, you need to make sure that you're buying one for a round cable. All that simple. Anyway, with that, let's get to the meat of what you really want to see. The easy and right way to get these terminated without having to redo them all the time. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the tools that we're going to need here. We're obviously going to need wire strippers, right? Why do we need wire strippers? We don't have to strip each one of the individual wires, but we do have to strip the outer shield of the 4 pairs of wires that we're going to be terminating. And we're going to need a set of dikes. Very important. Those dikes we'll be able to use to cut to the exact proper length all those wires that we're going to have to figure out how to get crimped. Oh, speaking of crimping, well, this is a Cat 5 crimping tool. Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7. Just remember, when I say Cat 5, I mean Cat 5, Cat 5E, Cat 6, Cat 7, okay? They're all pretty much the same from the standpoint of how we're connecting things. All right, and the nice part is this is really a professional grade crimper. You can buy a cheaper crimper if you want, but I strongly recommend having a real crimper that works well for whatever you're trying to crimp, and that means something at this class of crimper. Hey, your mileage may vary, but honestly, you really need to think about doing that. And the last tool I'm going to show here is optional. I'm going to pull these out of the way, put them over on the side here. This is a cable tester. This tests cables to make sure that they're wired correctly and that they will pass electricity or data. To use this, I will just plug in a Cat cable. Now, when I plug this one in, this one's designed that it immediately turns on and tests the cable. I'm going to try to get this up where you can see. Basically, it says it passes, and it shows me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is connected to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that tells me two things. Number one, it is a properly terminated cable. And number two, it is not a crossover cable. So, now, I think it's time to get started with the meat and potatoes of our project, which is this cable and this cable end. Yes, that's all it is. It's a little piece of plastic. You can buy these from anybody. I have bought these little cable ends from Home Depot, from Lowe's, from Osh. I've bought them via mail order. I bought them from Amazon. The important thing to remember is you need an RJ45, which basically states that it has this size connector and that it has 8 conductors, okay? And you want to make sure that you get an RJ45 that is designed for round cables, not flat cables. Flat cables were used in telephone systems and things that didn't have issues with crosstalk between wires. Oh, and one last note. I can talk about Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 7, all pretty much as one subject, because the real difference between those is the number of twists per inch of the pairs of wires. The wires are paired together and twisted so many times per inch in order to eliminate crosstalk in the wires. And that's really it, okay? So with all that fun stuff, let's go ahead and get on to the actual meat and potatoes of this project. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put this off to the side where it's not in my way, and I'm going to take and I'm going to try to straighten out this cable on the end here, okay? Now, I will take my strippers, and I'm going to give myself a liberal amount of wire here, okay? I probably got about 2.5 inches there. I'm just going to take that and twist it once, bend it, see if I got enough of a cut in it to get it loose. The most important thing I am trying to achieve here by doing that is I don't want to cut any of the 4 pair of wires. If I cut them, then I'm wasting my time at that point. Now, I'm done with this. I won't be using this again in the project unless I have to try to do the end again. Now you notice I'm holding on to this little string. This is called a pull screen. It actually, if I pulled this string, it would start to rip this open. I'm just going to take and cut this off because I don't need it. It's only going to get in the way. Now, here is the magic. Okay? I have 3 of these right here. Now, I know that 1 and 2 are the orange and the orange-white. I know that 4 and 5 are the blue and the blue-white. And I know that brown and white-brown are 7 and 8. And from my diagram, I know which one is which. I also know that I need to untwist these. So that's what I'm going to start with. And I'm going to start over on this end. And all I'm doing, you notice that I'm not unstripping them all, right? I am just unstripping, the full length here. I'm going to... kind of hard working around the camera. I apologize if I'm moving around and things are jiggling and stuff like that. But this is the start to the first one. You see I have orange, white, and orange. And notice these are still twisted. I've only opened up that much, and you'll see the reason for that in a minute. Now, the green one, that is the one that I have to unwrap completely. And by the way, if you've got any kind of pain or anything in your fingers or whatever, I will guarantee you they'll hurt more when you're done doing this, because this is not easy. This is hard. All right. Now, I've got this almost completely opened up. I know I'm not going to need that much wire, so I'm just going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to cut that off. So now I've got these separated, right? Look at that. There's green, and there is white-green. Now, the blue, well, it's a little different, right? Because the blue is 4, and the blue-white, that's 5, right? So I'm going to have to untwist this in a way that those wires are lined up that way, and I need to get enough untwisted, but again, I am not going to completely untwist it. Okay, so I'm trying to get the point here where I kind of can show where the wires are going, right? See how this is starting to look? I'm starting to line these wires up in the way that they need to go. And now, of course, my last wire here is my brown wire with brown white. And we've done the same thing with this, making the white brown and brown. Now I'm going to take all of these wires. I'm going to try to do this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm bunching them together between my fingers, and I'm kind of stretching them and flattening them out and getting them lined up, right? Because how do I want them lined up? Okay, I want the orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, green, brown, white, and brown all lined up like that. Although the blue is always a bit of a fight for me, getting it to completely come all the way around to where blue is on the left in this mess. But I think a couple more twists and I got it. There we go. Okay. So, this prep work and the way that I'm doing it is what makes a consistent crimp every time, right? So now I want to look at this one more time myself, and I see that the wires are properly in place. Now, I'm going to pinch this between my forefinger and my thumb, and I'm going to take about a line up on about a half an inch, okay? See that? About a half an inch. And I'm going to take my dikes and I'm going to make a straight line, and that's about a half inch. Notice I'm pinching the wires. I'm not letting go of the wires, and I'm going to cut that off flat. See that? Now, here's the money part. I'm going to set all these wires on the bottom of this connector with the metal parts up, and I'm just going to shove them straight in. Just like that. I'm going to push really hard, make sure they bottomed out. I'm going to grab my crimper, put it on, just like so, and crimp this wire. Now, that's not coming out, and I can look, and I know I'm trying to get an autofocus here. If you were looking at this, you'd see that the outward installation is crimped right there, and all the wires are crimped in place. So let's see how I did. I'm going to plug this one in. I'm going to plug this side in, and I'm going to look. And oh my goodness gracious, look at that. I pulled it off. I actually got it to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's how you do it. That's how you make this connection. And you know what? Doesn't take a long time. When you get really, when you get doing it real fast and don't have to talk about what you're doing, you can do one of these one a minute. I've seen real wiring professionals do that. Well, there you go. I need to make a correction before we close out this video. I used the term Cat7 a few times, and I'm reminded myself that Cat7 actually didn't utilize a traditional RJ45 connector. As a matter of fact, Cat7 is more of an extremely proprietary network cable that was designed to go leaps and bounds behind the technology of twisted pair Ethernet. Now, what I really should have said was Cat6A, which I didn't. So, full disclosure, nobody actually uses Cat7, Many times they use the term Cat 7 when they are talking about Cat 6A. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of cleanup at the end on aisle 3 here that I needed to do, okay? Now, with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I learned how to terminate these cables from professionals. And the real trick is knowing to line them up, knowing to cut them at that half-inch length, and understanding that if you pressure when you put them into the cable towards the bottom of that terminal and then slide them straight up, they will go right into the slots that you need them to go into. No hassle. It just works, okay? So you don't want to, let go of them after you cut them or anything else. You just want to make sure you hold them there. With that, hey, my name's Stu, and yeah, of course, don't forget to subscribe, like my videos. Any questions or comments you have about any of my videos, please make them in the comments of the videos below, because that way all of us can learn from your questions and my answers can be public to everyone, okay? With that, my name's Stu, AG6AG, wanting to say 73 to all you out there, and I hope to hear you on the air.